My 38M wife 40F is my landlord. What would you do? Married for 10 years. Wife was previously married and received a sizable divorce settlement, enough to buy a house before we met, which is our current home. So when I met her, part of the attraction is that she was financially stable, independent. Right now I essentially pay her to live in our home, which is intended to cover the tax, insurance, fair emo. But also a bit extra, the point of contention. Comes out to a small 10% discount to the comparable values in area. Edit, example. The actual amount is higher. I pay her $3,000 a month, tax, insurance $2,500, so she's taking $500 as an income. Comparable rent in the area might be $3,300. Her reasoning is that if she didn't own the property I'd be paying the full rent elsewhere, or she could just rent the property to someone else to make that income and we'd have to live somewhere else and I'd also pay for everything. Other than that, she doesn't contribute financially. We have kids and she's a good mom, but makes me feel bad for always being broke. She has other rental properties and substantial savings. Problem is that in last 5 years the rent basically doubled, the property value exploded since pandemic. I honestly can't afford to live here anymore. Her financial net worth is better than ever while I have nothing. She won't compromise on her lifestyle to improve our situation. So I'm wondering if this is normal? What would you do? What if you don't pay her? Will she evict you? What the fuck is this relationship? What kind of person makes their spouse paid to live in their own home? I'm really not sure what your financial arrangements look like, but this sounds really insane to me. Are you paying her rent and then covering all cost of life like food, gas, and everything else on the top of that? You're getting taken advantage of and may get screwed if you divorce. I'd chat with an attorney. This isn't right. When my girlfriend moved into my house, that I own and pay the mortgage on, we simply looked at what the cost would be if we were to split her apartment and she paid that amount. I didn't charge her half of what renting my house would be because that's unrealistic. You should both benefit in the situation. My wife only had to pay 50% of her rent. I got a little extra cash to help with the mortgage and utilities. Everybody wins. Also, I didn't raise her rent when rents in the area went sky high, and I didn't continue to charge her rent when she lost her job due to COVID in 2020. It's called being compassionate to your partner. Your wife should try it. She sounds really selfish and treating you like you're a tenant. I mean, is the house paid for or is she still paying on it? It's just kind of a funny arrangement. You're paying rent like you're a tenant and it doesn't sound like she's working and getting any income at all. It's just crazy, and she sounds selfish because she's raising rent on you and making you pay more and more and more. I think that would be a deal breaker for me. Why does my boyfriend, 26M, hate me no matter what I do, 26F? When I ask him for kisses or affection, he will kiss me once and say things like, okay, enough already, I am not kissing you anymore. Or, stop begging for it already. He only has sex with me while I am already asleep, and then he wants me to just go back to sleep after. His friends' girlfriends don't really seem to like me, so he says I ruined all of his personal relationships when I've done nothing but be myself. He hasn't had a job for over a year and he currently is staying with me, rent-free, after his mom kicked him out. I feed him and pay for his rent and our outings. Up until recently I would pay for our weed, but I don't have the money for it anymore, which upset him. He has tried choking me before. I guess I just want to know, why is he staying with me if he doesn't like me, and if I should just ask him to heave. Whenever I do, he gets upset and asks to stay, but it doesn't seem like he wants to. The real question is, why do you hate yourself? Love and respect yourself. Get rid of the abuser. Girl, leave. The sex while sleeping and choking should be enough reason, but before I was in a relationship I used to be non-affectionate, but now that I love my man I can't get enough. Sounds like he just likes the convenience of you. Sad face. I'm sorry. He's staying with you because you're condoning this sort of treatment. He knows he can get away with treating you like shit, so he does. The moment you leave him, I promise you he will do one of two things. 1. Beg for forgiveness. 2. Physically assault you. You're asking if you should leave a man who chokes and sexually assaults you? Really? Have some self-respect, sis, and get this dangerous man out of your life. Send him back home to mommy. He has tried choking me before. People who are choked by their partners are 750% more likely to be killed by them. I guess I just want to know, why is he staying with me if he doesn't like me? This is why. He hasn't had a job for over a year and he currently is staying with me, rent-free. I feed him and pay for his rent and our outings. He's using you. It's what abusers do. They are lazy, selfish, and entitled, and the goal of their abuse is not because they enjoy hurting you. Only a small percentage of abusers are genuine sadists, but to exploit your labor. Kick this monster to the curb before he kills you. You're in an abusive relationship. Please don't stay. My wife, 34F, has become a fashion victim. Can I do anything about this? 35M. Normally my position on my wife's outfits is she can wear whatever she wants, if she's happy then I'm happy. But her clothing choices in the last few years have been so weird, and she doesn't seem happy with them herself. She says things like, "Why'd I look so old?" And I say something reassuring, but I want to say, "Because you're wearing a 70-year-old woman's shirt." She asks my opinions on her outfits and shopping baskets and I'm lost for words. Like no, I don't think an brown acrylic sack is a nice piece of clothing. These fast fashion items fall apart, they're shapeless, the fabrics are awful polyester or acrylic. I hate having to be positive about them. Her current style seems like a mishmash from social media ads, streetwear, earth tones, pastels, minimalism, bold patterns, throwback preppy details. When I see the ads she watches, the models who are pulling off these outfits are professionally styled. They also use balanced combinations, like balanced tones, baggy with fitted, formal with casual, and makeup to match. I figured she just needed time to learn a new style, but it's been years. Some of the items are so out there I don't like being with her in public, like her pastel jumpsuit with bows on it, or her woolen sweater with peekaboo sides. I'm sure they can look good when styled well, but she's always rushing out the door and just combines them with the first clean thing she finds. I've gently asked things like, "How did the model wear this, style this?" when she's dissatisfied with how something looks. She's very sensitive to other people's opinions, so it's hard to phrase things in a way that isn't enthusiastic approval without her taking it as criticism. She will criticize my outfits if she thinks I look sloppy, but woe betide me if I say, when trying to think of a response about a shirt. I'm not a guy who puts zero effort into my own appearance and then expects my wife to look dolled up 24/7. I have a low-maintenance style, but it works because I planned it. But she seems to want low effort with maximum style. I'm tired of her asking my opinion when she doesn't want to hear any advice. She complains she has nothing to wear, while her closet is full to bursting. I gave her most of my closet space to see if that would help her organize. I've encouraged her to spend more money on buying from proper labels. Ideally I would just hire her a stylist and they can buy a whole new wardrobe, but that would cost several thousands. I just want her to pay attention to what she buys so she stops looking like she got dressed in the dark. Is there anything I can do about this, or do I just continue on as I am and hope for the best? Some people are really bad at dressing themselves, a stylist would help with that. I had a friend who had absolutely zero sense of style and of what looks good together. We numbered each item in his closet and I wrote down what went with what, like, pants N.2 go with shirts 3, 4, 17. It completely transformed his style, boosted his confidence, and he no longer needs this system now. But the point is, we didn't even need to buy him new things, I just had to show him how to wear what he had. A stylist won't necessarily make her buy a whole new wardrobe. They can help her make the pieces she has work better for her. You can maybe save some money by finding a virtual consultation or someone who's new to the field. Or are there any friends, relatives with good taste she might be inclined to listen to if you try and recruit their help? You need Stacy and Clinton. The Ultimate Book of Outfit Formulas. A stylish solution to what should I wear is a good book to help her organize and decide what to wear. Or any other similar type book that'll help her focus in her body style, what looks good and what doesn't based on that and her general aesthetic. This is a question from a different angle, but does your wife have female friends? Does she hang out with them, or has it been a while? I could not live with someone who was constantly making terrible choices, complaining to me about their terrible choices, asking for my opinion on their terrible choices, and punishing me if I said anything negative about their terrible choices. That is not a cycle I would choose to sustain. My advice is to break the cycle. Be honest and deal with the consequences. If telling her that her awful clothes that she knows are awful or in fact awful ends the marriage, then it must have been a really shit marriage. Brother-in-law, M24, told me, F26, he is getting a secret vasectomy without telling sister-in-law, F25, do we tell her? The other night, we went to a family dinner with my husband's side. While everyone was up getting food from the buffet, my brother-in-law, Bill, and I stayed behind to tend to the kids until the others returned. He and my sister-in-law, Sylv, have been together for 10 years and have 2 kids. The first was planned, the second wasn't. Sister-in-law is determined to have a 3rd child, but when I asked brother-in-law how things were going with their 2 kids, the youngest just turned 1, he said it's been really tough. He then confided that he's planning to get a vasectomy without telling her because he absolutely does not want another child, despite her strong desire for a 3rd. I told my husband because it is his sister. Should we tell sister-in-law about the secret vasectomy or leave it be? Edit. I was asked to add this into the post for context. They haven't been financially stable since before the first. Sister-in-law decided to buy a trailer for $64K with 18% interest rate and $500 per lot rent since they had a baby on the way. instead of staying in the cheap rental. Since the second child, sister-in-law has worked less and less because they can't afford daycare. They are never more than a month behind on bills, but they do not come out even each month. They are underwater, usually $300 $400 each month plus overdraft fees. Brother-in-law has worked hard and has gotten 2 promotions since first child was born, but it still isn't enough to stay afloat. She's pushing to be a stay-at-home mom because she doesn't want to work anymore. Her words. I think you should strongly urge him to tell her. If she didn't want a third child it would be different, but as it is, can you imagine her desperately trying for a third child while he just grins and enjoys the trying while laughing up his sleeve? Yeah, by the way, since this Reddit, someone's likely to tell you that him doing this is illegal. If they're in the US, it's legal. Imagine if, when this all came out after say 10 years. And every time your sister confides in you about not being able to get pregnant and brother-in-law won't go for tests. Whatever you do it's all going to go to shit, best you don't have it all blow back on you. Put it back on brother-in-law, where it belongs, unless he tells her, you will. He needs to man up and tell her he's getting one because he refuses to have more kids. But I don't hold much out for their marriage, to be honest, if she's insistent. Either she agrees and resents, or she baby traps him and he resents. I'd want to know. It's his body, his choice. It's also his choice to tell her. If this was an abortion that a woman wanted to keep away from her controlling partner, Reddit would be all over her right to keep it private. Stay out of their marriage. This is on them, not you. They need to properly talk about this third child. She can't just dismiss his desire to only have 2 kids. Having more kids is a 2 yes, 1 no situation. He can't just get a vasectomy and hide it and act like the not conceiving is just very bad luck. They need to communicate about this and work through it. And you need to put that on them, not take it upon yourself. If he was pushing her for a third baby and she told you in secret that she was on birth control to prevent it, would you tell him about it?